You're watching KLTX, Channel 15, serving the city of Lufkin.
Today on Screen It or Stream It.
What if where we lived could move like it was on wheels?
Like a mobile home.
No, like the entire city moving from place to place.
Yeah, it's still a mobile home. Mortal Engines is rated PG-13 for sequences of futuristic violence and action.
This post-apocalyptic tale begins with the history of the 60 Minutes War, a devastating event that wiped out many civilizations and left the surface of the Earth unstable.
In order to survive, mankind has converted cities with massive engines and treads to make them mobile.
These on-the-move cities end up competing for resources and occasionally devouring one another.
Add to that a story of love, betrayal, revenge, and superweapons.
Ooh, this sounds like fun.
Focus.
Right. So, a mysterious young woman, Hester Shaw, is seeking revenge against the man who killed her mother.
Unfortunately for her, he is basically in charge of London, which is the largest of these moving cities.
A museum curator named Tom thwarts her attempt to get even and is cast out for his trouble.
Add to that a few more subplots of techno-zombie characters, a nation of people who want all the cities to stop moving about, and enough special effects to make your eyes bleed. So how'd we like this one?
Well, hated by critics, loathed by audiences, we think that Mortal Engines is not great. Alright, so Mortal Engines, which apparently the title's very clever because it's a Shakespeare quote from like Othello or something.
And that's where all the good stuff ends.
Do not watch this movie.
What? Y'all didn't like it?
So, I read the book, just the first one, and I enjoyed the book, and it was on a recommendation of a friend. It's like, here, you should read this.
Yeah.
And I said, this is stupid. Because big cities on wheels fighting each other, and I'm like, you can't sell that to people, that's stupid. Then the trailer comes out, and I'm like, that's stupid. And he's like, no, it's good. And I read the book, and it wasn't great, but it was good, and I enjoyed it, and then I look forward to the movie, and I'm like, yay, the movie, all right. And the sad thing is, like, the big cities fighting each other was perfectly fine. That's not what makes this movie stake out loud. It's everything else. It's so bad.
So I will say this for the movie. When I was done watching it, I did not want those 2 hours back. So that means that I liked it more than anyone else here. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I did enjoy watching it. I probably will not watch it again. That being said, I need to clarify that I really love steampunk art.
Oh, I do too.
And there were parts of this movie that reminded me of the old video game Myst, like Myst 3. So I really love the visuals, and I love that.
Cyborg zombies.
Cyborg zombies. Shrek.
That's cool.
There were, I'm trying to get the name of the cast. Thank you. Yeah, okay. So Robert Sheehan is in this movie, and I really like a lot of the stuff that he's been in. Unfortunately, there are some movies that he's attached to that just are not that good, and this is one of them. Another person in this movie who was very likable to see in their scenes was the Anna Fang, played by Ji-hai.
Ji-hai, yeah.
That's why I said good luck when you say
Yeah.
Ji-hai!
Anna
I'm
Fang.
sure that wasn't Lyle Lovett.
And if it was, that makes it even better. I don't know. There's something about just her physical appearance and the character she was playing, and the art of the floating city and the rebellion. It all kind of went together, and it just looked right. But it was more of the feeling you would get when you see like a good fashion show. So
I didn't get that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, if you see like a good fashion show, you're like, okay, well, this is, high art, good clothing, it's wearable, and then it doesn't feel like it works for a movie.
Have you seen lots of fashion shows, Matt? You were just telling me the other day.
Well, apparently I don't get art anyway, so it's okay.
So for me, this was a movie that wanted to be a whole lot of other movies.
Hold on. Before you do that, I am going to totally agree when you get there.
Okay.
So I want to talk about everything I did not hate.
Spectacle!
First, then we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Spectacle.
I love the visuals. I love the way things look. I love the cities, I love the steampunk, I love the clothing, I love all of that. Everything visually, I love the airships and like the wall and it was great. I thought the characters, the people, Hugo Weaving was also in this. Like, I thought everybody did a fine job. That with what they had, what they did, the acting was fine. I didn't look at anybody and be like, "Ooh, they stumped this up." I thought that was fine. And for some reason, I still like the idea behind it. Like the cities fighting each other. Like 14-year-old me is like, "Yep, giant cities with tank tracks blowing stuff up is cool." And when I agree with you in a second.
Prepared to
So the
agree.
weirdest thing was when we walked out, the people that we went to see this with, we talked about it, and I think I liked it better than they did.
Ooh.
But my enjoyment, I think, of the movie came from me filling in missing pieces that the movie left out that I had read. Because there were a lot of things in this movie that happened, and I would be like, oh no, that's the whatever from the thing that it did not tell you. Which means if you didn't read it, you missed 90% of the cool stuff that was supposed to be there that I was just remembering. All right, take off and I will join in.
Right. So at different times, I felt that this movie was wanting to be The Matrix, especially the Anna Fain character. It was wanting to be Star Wars. It was wanting to be Lord of the Rings. But the thing that it seems like it wanted to be most and came closest to was another video game, was Final Fantasy VIII.
Yes.
These cities are like the gardens from Final Fantasy VIII, traveling around, doing battle. You've got airships going everywhere. The wardrobe's about the same. But yeah, I just kept thinking, man, if Final Fantasy, the Spirits Within, was like this, it still would have sucked. But
And so the thing that got me, at some point, they're doing the little flying ships, and they're making the speeder noises from Star Wars. And I'm like, that's weird. They just ripped off the speeder noise. And then the bounty hunter appears. And then I Am Your Father happens. And then I'm like how much of Star Wars are you going to rip off in one show? But then, yeah, and it's just this weird amalgamation of all these other shows. Like, let's take this piece, let's take this piece, let's take this piece and cram them together. And that's not the feeling I got from the book at all. So Valentine is the villain, basically.
With a name like that, you have to be a villain.
Hugo
It
Weaving's
is like
character.
guaranteed.
I just called him Hugo Weaving the whole movie. I never realized his name was Valentine.
Yeah. So in the book, Tom, who is the main character, him and Hester Shaw. The book starts with Tom, and it's all about Tom. And it's just this like character development. It's him working at the museum. It's him how his life like sucks because he doesn't come from a wealthy family and all this.
Tech, the iPhone.
Yeah, no, that's not in the book. And it's just really cool. And he has the hots for Valentine's daughter, but she's this rich, like, you know, Miss Perfect from whatever.
Enough. Why wouldn't you?
Well, no, and she's not necessarily. She's kind of let them eat cake. Like she's kind of rich and pompous, but it's not on purpose. She just doesn't realize how the other half lives. And he has the hots for her. And then Valentine tries to kill him.
As one does.
But in the book, there is no inclination that he's going to do this. So when Valentine like chunks him down the hole in the book, that is a like drop the book, like holy crap. Because Valentine up until that point is the hero of the city. He is everybody's idol. He is looked up to. He is worshipped. He is the savior of this place. He is like, he's not the mayor or the governor or whatever, but he could be if he want. Like people would storm the castle and put him in charge if he wanted to be. But in the show, like in the movie, he's kind of from the start, and it's like, oh, well, you've just thrown out to me what was one of the best moments in the book was that like
hand there.
Yeah, like you know he's going to be the bad guy, and like that just was a wasted opportunity. And I know it's got to be super difficult to take a book and turn it into a movie, like especially because you've got to condense so much. And a lot of times we rag on movies that come from books because they throw out stuff and you leave out things, and I know that has to happen.
Sure.
But again, if you can take Harry Potter and condense it into a 3-hour movie and make it work, anything's possible.
Well, plus you had Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyant, which is the exact same team that did the Lord of the Rings adaptation.
Well,
what went wrong?
But so here's the thing. They threw out stuff, and I know you have to do that. So I'm okay with the fact that it's missing a lot of the story.
Extended cut?
No.
Please don't.
But here's the thing.
The 7-hour director's cut.
They changed so many things. But there was there was literally no reason for it to have been changed. You could have shot it like it was in the book.
Yeah.
and it would have made sense. It wouldn't have been stupid, and it would have made the movie so much better. And it's like that thematically did not happen that way at all. And every single solitary change was for the worse. There was not one thing I could see changed and be like, oh, yeah, I got that. That made it so much better.
That one in the book, but I get it. That was
no,
cool.
there were heart-wrenching moments in the book that are just gone because they didn't set things up properly. One of the things, and Hollywood always does this, is the over-beautification of people. So one of the things about Hester was that she was like horribly disfigured in this huge scar. And so through the majority of the book, she has her face covered.
Yeah.
So that you can't see her. And there's this vulnerability and there's this, to her because of this, she doesn't want anybody to see her. Well, when she shows up in the movie, she has it on, and then like 5 seconds in, it's thrown off, and then she's like, all right, I'm cool with this, let's go. And it didn't...
Did anyone read Ready Player One?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So was her face like way more messed up than it was in the movie too?
Oh, yes.
So this is a continuing trend from last year.
So no, in Ready Player One...
They've had this trend for decades.
It was like, at least half her face, it was super dark, and she's obese.
Yeah.
And that's why she didn't want to... Like, everybody in Ready Player One is obese.
That's true.
But everyone in the movie is like an athlete. That,
and that was the reason she didn't want to meet him. And in the movie, so here's what I was going to say. If you take somebody and you make them pretty just for the sake of making them pretty, I get it. It's Hollywood. I want to see pretty people doing things. It's okay. But when you mess up the story because of the pretty person, then that's a problem. So there were scenes in Ready Player One that make no sense because she's supposed to be all and really it's a beautiful girl with a slight
it was
birthmark,
a bit of a scar, but I mean
no, in Ready Player One.
Oh, in Ready Player One, yeah.
No, but and again in Mortal Engines, this was a thing that made her sympathetic, even though she kind of treats Tom badly because she does in the movie too. But you don't feel necessarily like she's a bad person because you have the sympathy for her because she is disfigured, because she's hiding. But watching the movie, there were so many beats just like that were really good in the book that were just gone because they just didn't do one thing correctly. And it just made the whole movie bleh. Hey,
if they could do Dredd with that guy with the helmet on the entire movie, they could have done it.
What else do I like? It was boring.
What?
Yeah,
it was a boring movie.
Boring.
I looked down 45 minutes in at my phone. I was like, dear God.
I did the same thing.
Oh, no.
I did the same thing. I was like, how much more is this? Oh, God, we haven't been in here an hour yet. And I don't know how you take a movie about giant mech, steampunky cities, like airships, pirates.
I was bored the first time I saw them walking through a tread mark. That's the first time that I was like, this is going to be a long movie.
Well, they do like walking a lot in Lord of the Rings. So
that's true.
But they're walking through like a beautiful forest. They're not walking through like literally a mud-caked trail that is just a solid brown wall of a tread mark where a giant tank drove. And by giant tank, I mean giant enough that the tread mark is 3 times their height. So you don't even see the horizon. All you see is just brown mud in the background, and then their feet are moving like some kind of Hanna-Barbera cartoon where the scene just is the same, and the little feet keep doing the same thing, and nothing changes. And every second it's the exact same thing. I'm done.
+2 in the second Lord of the Rings movie, they switched it up and ran.
They did.
So Shrike is the zombie, cyborg
Stephen Lang
thing again.
Oh, he was a good part that I forgot about.
He was totally like again. They just did everything in this movie to make everything unimportant, unnecessary. He was totally unnecessary in this movie. Like, if you had just cut out everything with him, you could have shaved 20 minutes off this thing. I would have never known he was gone and would have enjoyed this better, even though he was probably one of the better things in here.
He was kind of the MacGuffin bot. Like, he was a robot that made them run in a particular direction.
So here, and the funny thing, again, there is a scene, like, none of the characters are likable. None of the characters are memorable. I do not care about any of them at all. There is a scene at the end where there's this big battle, like, with London. And there is a girl where there's like, what, 5 or 6 of these airships. And London's heading towards the wall, and they're going to blow up the wall, and that's going to be the end of like the freedom fighters, the good guys. And so they hop in the airships and they head out to try to intercept London.
Right, so they lock their S-foils in attack position
Yes,
and trying to get, before it gets in range, to blow up their secret.
Right before I Am Your Father.
The Death Star scene.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the Death Star scene.
Okay.
So the Death Star scene, one of the girls, her ship gets damaged, and they're trying to take out the guns, or she runs out of ammo or something, and she sacrifices herself and like kamikazes into this thing. And you can tell this is supposed to be like the music slows. This is a heart-wrenching, terrible, sadness moment. I have no idea who that girl is, where she comes from, anything else in this movie. She just like appears 5 seconds before that, and then like the character's like, "Oh, so and so died," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know who that is."
You gotta go back to Independence Day for how you're supposed to do this.
So that scene is in this movie, because I thought that was from The Last Jedi. Like, I seriously just thought that those two were the same thing.
Because in The Last Jedi, inexplicably, somehow it was stopped at the last second. You are saved.
Well, they did that too.
How?
They did that too.
I just remember like seeing these low-flying aircraft running across a battle zone
like, he's the
into
only
this
one.
giant thing that's charging up and trying to shoot.
He's the only one. Everybody else was gone, and then Sideswipe.
No, you
Like,
just
where did
described
you
both
come
movies.
from? Like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Plus, it was a bad plot device. I'd have been sad if he'd been killed. Let him die.
What was the wall? Was that like the?
Well, they built it 700 miles long, like out of ice, to keep the White Walkers out.
Well, no. So oh my god. So the premise of the movie, right, is that this giant devastation has happened. There's earthquakes. So the cities have to be mobile, and
Because the Earth's unstable, right?
it's because the Earth's unstable.
Right.
And again, in the book, it goes to links to tell you this is what is happening and why.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know what? It's dumb, but it makes sense. Like, I will buy that for the fiction. But in the movie, it's so like glossed over and done in like half a second that they didn't. I'm like, but you want people to buy this? But anyways, so the cities have to be mobile, except they keep running out of resources. So the cities are destroying and devouring each other for the resources from one city to the next.
As one does.
Well, the major cities of the world are still in existence because they're big and powerful. Well, there's this whole group of people that don't believe in this system.
The static cities.
The static cities, and they have a giant wall somewhere in Eastern Europe area, and it's defensible to the point that no one is able to get so. But the mobile cities want to cross it because the static cities are on the other side, and they're free. It's easy prey, right?
Right, they'd be defenseless.
It's like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like. Just gobble stuff up.
So they go to the wall to bust down the wall. They have this new weapon. We're going to blow down the wall and get through. And of course, the people behind the wall do this last ditch effort, and it doesn't mean anything. It's boring. It just it's so sad.
I cannot tell you who was alive at the end of the movie.
No,
I don't care.
Don't care.
Wow.
That's amazing. Like, I'm almost admiring this more. The more we talk about it, like someone had to sit down and go, no, that's too good. Mark that out and change it.
So this is like the Dadaist film of the year or something.
Well, once you hit like a budget as big as this movie had, I would have stuck with having Peter Jackson actually direct it himself instead of passing it off to the special effects guy from his previous movies.
Well, and you can kind of tell that, can't you?
It's too big to fail. Watch it.
Well, and it's one of those where we just take this amalgamation of all this stuff, we cram it together. None of it makes sense, and it doesn't work. Like, it takes an artist to weave all that together, and that artist was apparently on lunch break or something.
Unintentionally Ready Player One, just threw everything together.
Another comment that will probably be on the cutting room floor. Did anyone else think that there was a thinly veiled political commentary about America intervention and America weapons development? Because the Medusa was found and they were carrying around, and all that it said on the keychain was USA. And I was like, oh, this is about the arms race or something, isn't it? I wasn't sure.
Okay, so again, this is a very forgettable movie, and I genuinely don't.
I actually remembered the movie. I might agree with you.
Okay, so if you don't want to like totally punish yourself and wish you had the time back, all except for you, what would you recommend for a streaming option?
I don't want my time back. I've enjoyed being angry at it.
Okay, well that's good.
Literally any other movie. Watch Howard the Duck. Watch Plan 9 from Outer Space. Watch Johnny Mnemonic. Watch anything except this movie.
Wow. I like Howard the Duck.
Well, I'm gonna throw out Firefly, the series, because I love it. But that's how you take an amalgamation of like weird tech and old and new and future and put it together and it works. Even though the series got canceled before its time.
I'm going to throw out, I think it's let me look up the year again. 2012 fantasy sci-fi movie with Kirsten Dunst, Upside Down. So you probably have not heard of this movie. I think it was Canadian.
They had like anti-gravity on one, like...
Yeah, it's the two planets that have the double gravity.
It was surprisingly entertaining.
It was an entertaining movie. It was really kind of cool what they were doing. They used the setting to really develop the characters. I thought that it did a lot better job of the whole like upper crust versus lower crust class struggle. And the main reason I recommend this is because the technology was even more stupid than Mortal Engines. Just to let you know, the way that you are able to travel between is you have to have matter from the other planet, because it's not that it's antimatter, it's reversed gravity matter. And if you hold on to the reversed gravity matter for too long, it will start to burn up and kill you.
Better movie.
No, it was actually really entertaining, and even though that is weird physics, they were consistent enough with it that you're just like, oh, okay. So it was just fun. Yeah, I had forgotten about that one, but I did actually see it. It popped up on Netflix one day.
It felt like a dream. I was going to recommend Stardust, but then I was like, no.
Okay, I love
Upside
Stardust.
Down is
But
way
yeah,
more of
Upside
an
Down,
actual fit.
It's maybe charming, cute. It's just a cute little love story.
I actually thought about that because, like, there's a what is his name? That's the pirate in it.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Oh my god,
Like, that's so ridiculous, but they make it work.
It
You can
works.
make anything work.
you can.
So
Charm.
there was I know this happened in one of the Aliens movies. And I know it's happened in other movies, and I can't remember which one it was, but there, in one of the Aliens, Sigourney Weaver finds out, like, she finds her clones because they're trying to clone her because she had been infested.
Resurrection.
All right.
It's the fourth one.
So she goes in, and the clones are these horrible, disfigured things, and she kills them all. And it's kind of sad because she's basically killing her clones, she's killing herself, but it's just such a horrible, twisted thing that it just needs to die, so it's kind of okay. That's the best description of this movie I can give. It's just this horrible, twisted thing that just needs to... Anyways.
So what would your mercy killing be?
So, really go watch any one of those other movies this one tried to steal.
So
and do
either
copy.
Star Wars or...
I'm going to just say A New Hope. Go with Star Wars A New Hope. You get the same kind of feel, but done well and fun. And this seriously lacked fun.
Oh.
Okay, so we're watching Us. We're going to look at the trailer for Us.
Right, we're looking at the trailer.
For Us. That sounds really ridiculous, doesn't it? Okay, here goes.
It's got a kicking soundtrack.
That's a classic right there.
This is a lot more ominous than it should be. Like this.
What does I Got 5 on it mean? It's about drugs.
It's not about drugs. It's a dope song. Don't do drugs.
Get in rhythm.
It's not about drugs. It's a dope song.
There you go. There you go. Can't believe how big they've got.
Did you hear Gabe got a boat?
He's kidding, right?
He's not kidding.
Hey, I think it's vodka o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Where's Jason?
It's like Jeepers Creepers in the middle of it.
Jason?
Jason!
Where were you? I didn't know if you were lost. Stick with me, and I'll keep you safe.
Oh man, that just really got dark.
There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family?
Nope.
All of the nope you just threw in the towel.
Nope.
That mask right there is just messing with me though.
we can get crazy.
It's so much less intimidating that he's got the Howard University shirt on. Oh, the kid just meowed.
What are you people?
He's purring. People don't purr.
They look exactly like us. They think like us. They know where we are. We need to move and keep moving. They won't stop until they kill us.
The music's really turned around and really hits it now again.
Okay, that is one of the scarier trailers I've seen. Like, as far as just putting the creepy stuff in the trailer.
Yeah.
Top notch for that. Movie could go either way, but that was a fine trailer, I have to say. It creeped me out every time I've seen it, so.
So here's the thing I'm going to say. As much as this trailer is promising me, if it does not deliver whenever I get there,
It'll be a huge
I'm going to be very angry.
Yep.
So I'm putting my trust in Jordan Peele.
All right, Jordan Peele, don't let us down.